Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the Infinite Baffle channel. My name is Niall and today we are in what can only be described as an incredibly privileged position because today we're going to be taking a look at the Sennheiser HE-1 headphone system, the flagship Sennheiser headphone system that comes in just shy of 60, that's right, 60,000 pounds. It's not something that you get to listen to every day. Again, we're incredibly lucky to have the opportunity to do so. So thank you to Sennheiser for allowing us the honour of listening to the system. We'll be covering exactly how it sounds, how it performs. Can it possibly ever be worth £60,000? Again, all of that we'll cover in this video. If you do enjoy it, make sure to leave a thumbs up, and your support as always is massively appreciated. Make sure to subscribe as well for more hi-fi content in the future. And yeah, without any further ado, let's get stuck into it. We're going to kick things off as always by discussing the appearance and design. But before we do that, I do want to say a big thank you to Audio Affair, which is where we listened to the HE-1. A link to their listing of the HE-1 will be down in the description as well, which shows all of the specifications in full for the system. So with its price tag, it's almost inevitable that the HE-1 feels like a very special, significant piece of kit, and that is never truer said than the moment that you receive delivery of it. Now, I was here at Audio Affair when the delivery arrived, and it comes in this huge, almost military grade suitcase. When you've taken it out of that, the unit itself is then in a big protective wooden crate, and it all feels just incredibly special, incredibly premium. But as you can imagine, when you've got a piece of kit that's £60,000, they go to big lengths to make sure that the unit is well protected, sustains no damage in transit, all of that stuff. And when you pop open the crate for the first time to reveal the system, you are greeted with what is an absolutely beautiful piece of kit. It's clear straight away that the HE-1 system is something where no expense is spared. I mean, you lift it out of the crate, it's a heavy piece of kit coming in at 21 kilograms, and a big chunk of that is made up of this beautiful Carrara marble that the base of the unit is made from. And not only does it feel absolutely just spectacular, but it looks stunning as well. A great base for the whole of the unit to sit on, and it really is a showpiece item, this. Showcase is definitely the right word to use here, because I mean, when you've taken it out of the box, you plug it in for the first time and you power it up, the buttons emerging from the front, the valves rising from their base, and then the lid that contains the headphones rising up as well and just revealing the headphones beneath them. The whole thing is a real showpiece, a real spectacle, and something that I think, unless you've listened to the HE-1s, you'll have never experienced before with audio equipment. One thing I will say from unboxing the HE-1 is that although I've mentioned that no expense is spared, the whole system feels absolutely quality. One thing that did feel a little bit unusual is the fact that the power cable that comes with it feels like a very bog standard cable. Here at Audio Affair, we actually replaced that with our time using the system with a cord Epic mains cable, so much higher quality. I mean, I'm not expecting Sennheiser to include something quite at that level, but it did feel, considering this whole thing costs £60,000, it's supposed to be a creme de la creme system. It would have been nice to have a slightly better power cable, but maybe I'm being a bit nitpicky there. As you might be able to imagine, with a system developed and designed in the way that the HE-1 is, not only does it look fantastic, not only does the quality feel absolutely incredible, spectacular, but it does have some insane numbers on paper to back it up as well when it comes to the technical specifications. I mean, this system has actually got the lowest ever recorded distortion rate of any system of its nature, getting just a 0.01% at 1 kilohertz of distortion. I mean, with a 114 peak SPL rating as well, they are some crazy numbers. What that effectively means in layman's terms is that when you're listening to the system, you're getting next to no distortion, even at the peak high volumes at 100 SPL. I mean, when you're listening to it, you can take this as loud, or for me at least, for as loud as my ears can handle it, and you're still getting a crystal clear signal, which is something that is so hard to achieve. The HE-1 system also boasts an incredibly wide frequency response range, getting at the 8 Hz on the low end and going all the way up and above the 100 kilohertz level. Again, just incredible numbers, as you might expect from this kind of system. What that effectively means is that you're going to be getting the really low lows that can be so hard to reproduce, but also the really nice peaks that, again, thanks to the fantastic levels of control, means the sound is still going to remain well intact. With the HE-1 system being a valve one, it also means you get the lovely warmth that you get from valve amplification that is just so hard to replicate when you're not using valves. It's a Class A sound, and that partnered with the electrostatic headphones produces a wonderful well-rounded experience. Believe it or not as well, if you were to invest your £60,000 into the HE-1 system, that wouldn't be the end of your investment. You'd need a source to connect this system up to make the system whole and work. We used a named streaming system with a separate power supply to try and get the absolute most out of the HE-1, and you can see here from the rear of the system itself, inputs and outputs are pretty limited, but the ones that are there are all of the highest quality. Analog wise, we're talking balanced XLR as well as RCA. Digital wise, you have USP, SPDIF, digital coaxial, and optical connections as well. So the main thing that many people are going to be here for, the sound experience, the performance of the HE-1 system. How does it compare to other systems we've listened to, and how do they sound? Well, the headphones themselves, this system, I'm very fortunate because this is, I think, the third time that I've been able to sit down and have a real good listen of the HE-1 system. We've had slightly different setups every time we've done it, not necessarily always been via the name streamer like we did on this occasion, but every single time I've listened to this system, I've walked away with the exact same thought, which is they are unquestionably the best headphones, the best headphone system that I have ever listened to. And again, we're fortunate enough here where we listen to some real high-end stuff, but the HE-1s just, for me, they are absolutely phenomenal to listen to. It really is. I've used this word already in this video. It is an experience. It's a privilege to be able to listen to these. But what I will say is, are they worth £60,000? Is this system worth £60,000? I mean, I really struggle to say that any headphone system is going to be worth that amount of money, to be completely honest with you. With that being said, they are, again, the best headphones that I've ever listened to. If I was going to use 3 words to sum up the actual sound signature of the headphones in the system that we had them in, I would say detail, warmth and control, and that's all coming from the different aspects of the system. You've got the warmth that's brought to you by the valve amplification, which we've touched on a little bit previously. Control, thanks to the incredible amount of power, the frequency response range, all of that contributing to a wonderfully controlled sound. And then also the detail that you naturally get from an electrostatic headphone as well, just all merges together to make a wonderful sound signature. One thing that I think a lot of people would, I don't want to say be concerned about with this level of a system, but one area that electrostatics often can be let down by is the low end, the bass response, the low end punch that you sometimes find can be a bit lacking in this style of headphones. But I think, again, because the HE-1 system allows the headphones to go so low, that just is not a problem here. I mean, they are pretty much, as I'm convinced, the perfect headphone. The only restriction with it is obviously the fact that it comes in this bulky system, and you do feel like you're very much tethered to the system. You know, you can't exactly be walking around the room or using them on the go. I mean, that isn't to be expected, obviously, but I still think that the fact that you're tethered to them so much is just something that, you know, if I was designing the perfect headphone that had no restrictions and let's just pretend anything was possible, I would like to have a little bit more freedom rather than being chained to a desk personally. And again, that is a super nitpicky thing to say, and I do truly think it's actually something that's unavoidable. But again, if you're parting with £60,000 and you want the perfect experience, I think it's something that's worth bearing in mind. Separation and staging on the headphones was absolutely wonderful as well, and the instrumentation, everything sounded really clear and natural. I think I touched upon it a bit earlier in the video, but because of the fact that the control is so good, you can really crank these up to as loud as I could tolerate, and again, the imaging was still really clear, just no distortion visible for me whatsoever. I mean, it says in the specifications that there's 0.01%, but I couldn't pick that up whatsoever. And saying that I can't pick up on it is actually something else that's worth considering, because I think some people will definitely have more of an ear for it than others. I mean, because of that really wide frequency response range, there are tones there that some people just will not be able to pick up, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I've got the perfect ears. Yes, I'm lucky enough to listen to some really high-end, really well-performing kit, but you know, am I hearing this whole range here? Probably not, no. The headphones themselves are actually quite unique as well in the way that they feel and fit. I mean, again, the quality of them feels absolutely exceptional, second to none, but when you first pick them up, they actually feel a little bit weighty in my opinion, and you often would think that with a headphone being heavy might not necessarily lend itself to a headphone being really comfortable, but I mean, again, really well designed. You can tell again that no expense has been spared here because the comfort of them again was absolutely exceptional. I think you could sit down and listen to these for, you know, long periods of time with no issues at all in terms of fatiguing. And again, because of the really detailed sound, that is something that some people can sometimes find a little bit weary, a little bit, you know, wearing your ears down after long periods, but I did not find that to be the case whatsoever here. Testing wise, we always like to listen to a real wide variety of music to try and kind of put units through their paces, test the items out for, you know, all sorts of sounds. And when I first plugged in the system, I actually stuck on OK Computer, the album by Radiohead, which pretty shamefully I've only discovered fairly recently. And that's an album that I think really lends itself well, that style of music, to equipment of this level, because you're unlocking the different layers. It really, again, is just an all-round incredible experience to listen to an album of that production level, of that detail, of that complexity with this kind of equipment. But with all that being said, I think the most enjoyment I got was just listening to music that I know, even if it wasn't the most complicated music, the most difficult track for the system to handle, I still felt like I was hearing it in a different way to that I'd ever heard it before. Because of the open back electrostatic nature and the way that the headphones sound, it almost felt more personal than other headphones that I've heard in the past as well. It really is almost quite an isolating experience listening to these and just kind of submerging yourself into the music that you're listening to. And it's very difficult to explain without having experienced it, to be honest, because that's something that you don't get very often with headphones. Yes, you can find yourself being drifted away and drawn into the music, but never quite to this level in my opinion. The whole experience is just incredibly satisfying. And again, having listened to the system a couple of times before this in the past, that again is something that I've always thought when I've walked away from listening to them. Again, it's very hard to put your finger on it and to do justice when talking about the system. It really is something that needs to be heard to be believed, in my opinion. I think another reason that I enjoy the system so much is just the overall presentation of it. I mean, just because it's such an expensive system and the fact that it's designed to such a high level doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to like the same signature, the same stage and the way that it's designed, but that is something that I loved. I mean, I've mentioned it on previous videos, I love a sound where the vocals are really prominent and at the forefront of the sound, and undoubtedly that is a characteristic of the HE-1 system. You're still engulfed by everything else that's going on around you, and I don't think the vocals are overwhelming, but they definitely take centre stage in the presentation. Overall, I mean, I've said it already, this system is unquestionably the best headphone system that I have ever heard. But again, can it be justified for £60,000 for what is effectively a pair of headphones without a source? I mean, if you're someone with all the money in the world and money is no object to you, then you are not going to get a better headphone experience out there, in my opinion, on the market, full stop. I mean, you are unquestionably not just paying for the sound, you're paying for the whole presentation, and it is very much a showcase piece of equipment. But you know, £60,000 is a lot of money where you can go out there and get a pair of headphones that sound absolutely fantastic for, you know, what, 10% of that? You know, it's a big jump up from headphones that already sound absolutely great. So it's very difficult to say that it's worth £60,000. And again, you're buying into the whole aesthetic, the mystique of the product, and just the fact that it is a creme de la creme. It's like a talking piece of equipment, really, but it does sound incredible. And again, I've got to say it for maybe the fourth or fifth time in this video, they are the best headphones and it's the best presentation that I've ever heard. But yeah, £60,000 is a big pill to swallow for most people out there. So it's difficult to say that it's justifiable that this is something for the everyday person to go and pick up. I mean, that again goes without saying. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. I mean, I've already mentioned again, I think it's very difficult to put into words just how good this system is. So if you're someone out there that has had the opportunity to listen to the HE-1, you know, let me know your experience in the comment section down below. I'd be really, really intrigued to hear. I mean, were the best headphones you ever heard the HE-1s, or did you find something that you thought was, you know, better than that for a fraction of the price? All opinions and feedback welcome in the comment section down below. Again, thank you so much for your continued support on the channel. Love the feedback. Make sure to leave a thumbs up. Enjoy your bank holiday weekend if you're in the UK, and we'll see you all in the next video.